Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody around the world. Welcome back to another One Piece video featuring your girl, Nami. Coming at you guys with another spicy video today at Local Scene. Today we'll be playing around with Nami against a Shanks over here at Curio Caverns. Running the exact same list here as our previous video against Lim, in which this matchup should be drastically different due to the fact that Shanks has a much better late game than us. Being able to utilize the both 10 cost Shanks, the aggro list, or not aggro list, sorry, the aggro one being the one that we all know and love. This 10 cost, which also reduces all of our power by 1000 power on the board. And then he also utilizes the 10 drop Shanks that has opportunities to removal. And then he gained an access to a brand new Shanks in the structure deck, which is a 9 cost that allows him to give his leader 2000 power to the end of the next turn. So this should be a very challenging matchup. The downside to this is a lot of our stuff that we have, we don't typically get to utilize. The Nojiko's here. In the Jozu comes up occasionally, but Nojiko is only bouncing back like blockers typically because Shanks plays a lot of big bodies. Once we get up to that 7 Dawn curve, he's going to be playing down a bunch of Beckmans and going into the big bodies, which are going to be Shanks and Rayleighs. So we're going to need to see Red Rock here in this matchup. Now, we do have access to the 7 drop Mom, which really does change this game due to the fact that he has to have Divine Departure to pop this, or an Otama plus a Beckman. He needs a little bit more of an oomph to get rid of it. The good thing about this is it forces Shanks to either heal us or trash life. Once he trashes, typically we're able to get rid of big bodies from life, therefore he can't utilize them on board, which is kind of nice. The 8 cost Kid, which will be another very good card here in this matchup because it allows us to burn life for free. So we're going to try our best here and see what we can cook up. Let's get at it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to dive into this matchup today with Nami playing against Shanks here at Locals at Curio Caverns out here in Virginia. Do hope you guys are enjoying these matchups. I'm going to try to get out at least 2 more games today. And then tomorrow, which would be my Tuesday, we will be working on Green Yellow Yamato for OP11. Which I know people have been very much anticipating that deck list from me, so I'm going to try my very best. We're going to play a bunch of games as we typically do with Yamato. We're going to go from there. In any case, let's dive into this matchup here. I opted to go 6, because I did want to drop a Hiyori and then put the Kikinojo here in life, but it doesn't really matter due to the fact that Shanks is a 5 life lead, so we can't really play around with that right now. So instead we opt to play Shirahoshi early. This way we don't have to pitch cards in hand, because now we can just guard out. And then the following turn, we go up to 5 Dawn. And we could potentially drop the 5 cost Katakuri or play Hiyori down and put Kikinojo in life. There we go. Because my other play here was just to pitch the Kikinojo for the 2k counter. So he does, however, play a blocker. So this is probably not gonna work the way we want to. So instead we'll drop the Katakuri on board. This will allow us to ramp up and flip the top life and attach the rest of Dawn to our Nami and then swing for 6. And it just so happens we have a Kikinojo in life, which is kind of nice. So now I would assume Shanks is going to play around that until he can get like Ben Beckman turn to be able to remove it. I think a lot of people don't see Katakuri at all, so they're like, what does this do? It's interesting to me. Yeah, it's fine. So we swing in, he guards, he pops Katakuri. I mean, we got rid of the blocker, so I'll take that trade. And we do have Red Rock in hands for the 10 cost Shanks and Rayleigh, so I think we're sitting pretty good. Yep. It's going to go 6. Now that we know we have Kikinojo in life, we can pitch this one for the 2k. Okay, plays Sanji. Or Chopper Blocker, sorry. And I believe we're at 7 Dawn now. Yeah, we're at 7. Okay. I don't think Katakuri here's the move. We're going to have to spend 7 just to play Big Mom. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate because we can't attach Dawn to the Nami to use our leader ability here. but we can't swing on him anyway if we go 6 because he has the chopper blocker. So instead, we'll play Big Mom down, and we'll force him to either heal us or trash life. If he trashes life, Kikinojo becomes active. Which at the time when I was doing this, I imagined he would heal us for free. Because one way or the other, he's going to go to 3 life at some point, and then we'll have to deal with the body that we get in life here. Which for Shanks can be a problem. Because the only way he can remove it is by Beckman or Divine Departure. Because they both... Or I guess Beckman, sorry. Because Beckman trashes. Divine Departure is going to remove the Big Mom if he has that, unfortunately. And then there's Rayleigh. So. And I'll take those trades. Speaking of which, he is on 8 Dawn, I believe. I think he's on 8 Dawn. Math's hard sometimes. Yeah, 8 Dawn. Okay, so Rayleigh comes down. So Big Mom goes to insignificant, unfortunately. 5 lead. I could guard here, which is probably the best play, because he only can swing 5, which is nice. We don't have to pitch it. Or we didn't have to have the Dawn attached to leader, which is good. Okay. Let's go ahead and Red Rock this. Considering now we have Eustace Kid and stuff in hand, this will be pretty good for us the following turn. And then we have another Red Rock for later, for the 10 cost Shanks. Let's go 8 lead. We can't really swing with Big Mom because she got power reduction off the Rayleigh. Perhaps next turn we can, if he doesn't kill it. Takes the damage, we get the draw off the Nami effect. And we're sitting at 5 life to 3. We got the pudding off the draw, which is really good for us here. So I think at this point he has 8 cards in hand. Now, it might be counterproductive, but I think we're going to save the pudding for later. Because if he wants to drop a... He's going to drop 10 cost Shanks here. So he's popping the Big Mom, which is okay. Because now we can just Red Rock it. We'll take this hit. We get a Law. So now we'll just Red Rock the Shanks. And Kikinojo is live. We'll bottom deck that, which is pretty good for us. That means we have 4 Dawn left to play with. We can either pudding, because he is at 8, right? But if we pudding, we can't swing due to the chopper blocker and the leader ability. So instead, what's this in hand? Okay, we'll go 8k lead and we'll drop the Law. Just in case it's another like a 10 cost rush Shanks for next turn. And then we can easily guard out for the leader and then block out the 10 cost rush with the Law blocker. Or we can take the lead and then block the other one, you know? That way we get Kikinojo on board. Alright, so he's at 8 cards, I believe. What do you want to do here? Okay, there's a Beckman. Interesting. I forgot he did this. I don't necessarily know if it was a misplay or he'd just rather get the Beckman on board. Because instead, he could have just swung and then allowed me to take the hit, then played the Beckman down to pop the Kikinojo. I think that would have been ideal, right? But I don't know how important it was to remove the blocker off the board for him at this moment in time. Because at least if we did it the other way, the Kikinojo wouldn't heal me at all. We're going to go ahead and play it on a Hiyori. Of course. Of course it's in life. I feel like this happens all the time. But Soul Poke is back. We'll draw off the Hiyori effect. Or sorry, off our leader effect. 4. Okay. Nojiko kind of loses value at this point, unfortunately. He doesn't really play anything else on board other than his blocker. And I think we've already dealt with one Lucky. So he's going to need to at least play Shanks at some point here. We'll go ahead and pudding. So we get to shuffle back 8 cards in hand, and he draws 5, right? which at this point we're already kind of late into the game. If he had big bodies in hand, now he has to hope he can get more. Zeus doesn't have value right now, just a 2k counter. Slowpoke we can pitch for the next turn when he decides to swing on us. That way we can become a 7k. And then Jozu we can probably guard out later. I'd rather keep him and get rid of the Slowpoke if possible. Because part of me wants to kind of just play it down and force him to do, you know, give me life or trash life, and then him attack us and we activate another one. That'd be great, but it doesn't really make any sense to do that this late in the game. Let's go 7 lead. Leader ability, sure, so now we're 6. Okay. Divine Departure. That's fair. Now we'll go 8. Sure. So now he's at 2 to our 3. Remember, we have Slowpoke in life. So, the play at this point, when he swings, right, when we trigger life, if he decides to trash life, which he shouldn't, but if he does, right, hypothetically, we play Useless Kid the following turn and then put him to 0. Now, of course, he doesn't know we have Slowpoke, right? No one typically does. I think that's the musical search event. I forget what that one's called. But anyway, typically no one really expects Slowpoke. But at this late in the game, if he decides to go to 1, we play Kid, we trash life. And I'm pretty sure we're up from that point. So I would think he'd heal us here. That way we go back to 3. Which is kind of cool. Go ahead. Do the thing. Yep. So we get an extra life here. Kikinojo's still on board. He's going to go 5 lead. We'll pitch the other Slowpoke for now. Just so we can go up to 7. He does have 8 on here. Oh, really? Okay. That's fair. I actually forgot he did that. So he's going to pop Kikinojo. And then she's going to be able to allow us to heal again. Now, like I mentioned earlier, if he had swung with Shanks first to get the Kikinojo on board, then played the Beckman, we wouldn't have got an extra life here with Kikinojo because he would have just trashed it with the Beckman, right? So we would technically be at 3 if he didn't make that mistake. But again, I don't know how important it was for him to remove the blocker that was on board, being the 1-cost law. I think I would have removed the Kikinojo with the Beckman because it's another body on board that's causing, you know, pressure. So, and in this situation, us being at 4 to 1 is just, odds are we should be able to have the game. Even if we are at 3 here to 1, we should be fine. Because again, we do have Zeus in hand, we have Nojiko, we're able to bounce back the blockers to hand, being at Chopper, or, yeah, Chopper blocker, or Lucky Roo. And potentially going for game. We'll pitch the Big Mom here. I feel like this card right here doesn't get as much value until late game, at least into Shanks, which we're in that point, but we've already put in him, then Big Mom kind of just becomes a lot more valuable. I feel like she doesn't have as much value prior to you playing Pudding, at least in Nami here. Because going down the 5 cards in hand and then forcing your opponent to trash 2 more of those, or trash a life, is kind of detrimental for a lot of decks to deal with, I think. That's why I think Big Mom probably goes really well with Nami. Alright, so we got 4 bodies on board. That's the new Shanks, by the way, which gives his leader an additional 2,000 power until the end of his next turn. So when my turn goes, sorry, until the start of his next turn, my bad. So on my turn, he'll still be a 7k. So there's an Otama. I'm guessing he's going to remove Kid here. Which is cool. He doesn't have enough to do like Divine Departure or anything. I will counter out. And we'll do this again. This is just to absorb the attacks. I know he's going to kill it no matter what. It's going to die, boys. It's just, it keeps him from attacking life, right? So there's 10 into that, so that's gone. It forced him to put Dawn on Rayleigh there. Therefore, he has 1 Dawn open, 3 cards in hand. So perhaps he does have a 1-cost event, which would be Divine Departure. But we'll find out here in a second. We're going to spend 6 to play the Big Mom. Big Mom forces the trash card, which would be Kikinojo. So now he has to either trash life. If he trashes life here, he loses, right? If not, he has to pitch 2 cards in hand. And then, which probably odds are, he still will lose. Because I would think he'd keep the event if he does have the event in hand. Which would make him an 8k. Which would bring me down to a 7. So that's another 9-cost Shanks and Lucky Roo. I'm debating here whether or not to put 2 on Pudding and then swing. And split it up. Like 2 Pudding and 2 Nami. But right now he's got 4 bodies on board. If the card in hand is not an event, and it's another 10-cost Shanks with Rush, then he has 5 attacks next turn. Now, that would mean he'd swing on me with 5, with leader Shanks, then we'd have to pitch a card in hand and use our leader ability, and then we'll probably take the next 4 swings at that point. But I think we'd still be fine, right? Because we're at 4 life. So, I think either way we decide to play it here, I think we have this game. Okay, so he lets this go. Which I think that was the best option. Because at the time, I was thinking he's going to have 5 swings, and I'd kind of be cooked. But, mathematically, we're at 4 life. So. And if he did end up playing the Beckman correctly there, we'd be at 3, and I think I would still take this approach of trying to clear a body on board. Because if he did have the 10-cost Shanks, he's only hitting us with 3 characters, because we'd be able to block out the leader swing. So I think we would still be fine either way. Yeah, okay, so there's 10-cost Shanks. I didn't ask him what the other card in hand was. I just assumed it was the event, considering he left up 1 Dawn. It was either going to be that, or he drew into this 10-cost Shanks during this turn, or he had that the whole time. Not entirely sure. So he passes here. I don't understand why. Maybe he's worried about extra triggers, but I think at this point, the game was already over, and he just probably should have attacked face. And of course, we're going to play this a little safe, so we're going to go 7 lead. Remember, we're a 6, though, due to the fact that Shanks is on board. So what was in hand? Okay, so it was a Beckman. I totally forgot about that. That's cool. He didn't have an event the whole time. And then now we just go 12 lead. Well played, man. So we have 3 2Ks in hand. We get a brick, a 1K brick, and another 1K counter. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the end of this matchup. We're going to dive into the next one following this video. We're going to try to get these out as quickly as I can today. Rapid fire. Either way, that matchup really came down to the 7 Mom, Red Rock, and Soul Pocus. Being able to heal twice in that game, plus the Kikinojo, which would be 3, right? Really just changed the way of how the game was going. He had a lot of big bodies on board, but we were able to deal with the Rayleigh. We were able to deal with the 10-cost Shanks because we had the Red Rocks, right? But him making the mistake of playing down the Beckman to pop the Law instead of popping the Kikinojo wasn't the only reason why we won that game. Just simply for the fact that he allowed us to heal With the Lin, he allowed us to heal with the Soul Pocus. So even though we healed with all 3 of them, the Kikinojo would not have changed the game in his favor, because you got to keep in mind, we had the Soul Pocus, we had the Lin, we had more life than him. Overall though, it was a very, very good game. I had a lot of fun with that one. Shanks, on the other hand, is kind of a very intimidating matchup for Nami, just because, again, we don't get a lot of bodies on board often. When we do, Shanks can automatically just minus the power on Cavendish, minus the power on Jozu, just deal with your board a little bit easier, especially if he also is playing control variants, which can make this version of Nami kind of difficult in this matchup. But either way, we're gonna go ahead and dive into another one. I'll see you guys in a split second. Again, don't forget to hit that like button on these videos so we can get these ones floating around. Enjoy the rest of your day.